Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 8th episode of the story, where Might Guy trades Neji and Tenten for Naruto and Hinata. Can he turn this motley crew of misfits into a team of geniuses? Or will he be compelled to stop wearing spandex for good? Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let's begin. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 8th episode of the story, where Might Guy trades Neji and Tenten for Naruto and Hinata. Can he turn this motley crew of misfits into a team of geniuses? Or will he be compelled to stop wearing spandex for good? Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. Sasuke, Hinata, Naruto, and Lee all sat cozily inside of an igloo that Haku had made for himself as his main base of operations. An unconscious Neji and Tenten also lay in the small circular room. Things had been quiet for a while since Haku had vanished. They were hoping he would come back soon with a report on Gai Sensei. Finally, after what felt like hours of waiting, though it had only been minutes, Haku returned through a mirror of ice located at the top of the igloo. So? Did he beat that snake bastard good? Naruto asked excitedly. Haku smiled brightly and gave them the thumbs up. Situation handled. I knew he would do it. Lee pumped his fist triumphantly. Neji and Tenten both stirred slightly but neither of them got up. Perhaps we should keep it down for them? Hinata whispered. Everyone else nodded in agreement. So what happens now? Sasuke asked after a few moments of silence. Surely my team will be compensated or given a handicap for this. Haku shook his head sadly. As it happens, there is an article pertaining exactly to this type of situation in the Chunin exam guidebook I had to read before I could proctor. It states that while it is unfortunate, it is considered just bad luck, and on the field, bad luck can sometimes happen. The fact that we survived by managing to call outside help just happened to be good luck. That's the way the rules look at it. TCH, how stupid. Sasuke already wasn't like this exam and they had only been here for a few hours. Well, at the very least give me my scroll back. You still have ours too. Naruto quickly added. Haku scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. About that, are you freaking kidding me? Sasuke yelled as he slammed his hand on the ground. Why the hell not? Let me explain. Haku held his hands in front of himself in defense. The scrolls have a one-time charge. Once you open it, the seal is completed and can't be used again. The scrolls you had are now useless. You can get us new ones though, right? Naruto asked hopefully. The look on Haku's face told him he wasn't going to like the answer. We prepare the scrolls specifically for the exam depending on the number of people that pass. Not even I can get at the remaining scrolls. Unfortunately, it comes down to the same thing as before. I'm sorry. Do not worry about it. We might not have survived if not for your quick thinking. Lee stared at the ceiling of the igloo. What about that guy? He had a heaven scroll. Another contestant took it after aiding your sensei. Since he was a contestant I had no right to stop him and he risked his life by doing what he did. Haku sighed heavily. I am sorry. I wish there was some way I could be of help to you. Providing you this base to recover in is about the most I can manage for now. Not like we're hurt anyways. Naruto drummed his fingers on the ground as he thought. We're just sticking around to see if more people show up to attack Sasuke and his team. It'll be a good way for us to earn scrolls if someone does show up. Damn it, we did this happen? Sasuke smashed his fist against the side of the igloo in irritation. Why the hell was it us? Perhaps it was fate? Sasuke's eyes widened and he looked up at the person who had spoken. Hinata was staring right at him, a cruel calmness in her eyes. Regardless of what happened, you guys need a plan. Are you just going to sit in this igloo until morning? Haku was looking around at the four conscious genin seriously. We will stay here until tomorrow morning. If no one comes by, then we shall go searching for our scrolls. Lee looked to both of his teammates and they nodded their heads in agreement with his plan. Well, I'll leave you all to discuss your plans more thoroughly. I have to monitor the exam some more. Haku stood up and vanished into the mirror. A moment of silence followed before Naruto voiced up. We should split up to cover more ground then. I'll leave a clone with each of you, so just pop him if something happens. They all began discussing their plans until Sasuke suddenly slammed his fist against the igloo again. Are you guys stupid? We're both down to no scrolls thanks to an unjust system. Are you okay with that? He looked each of them in the eyes one by one. To his surprise, they all seemed completely sure of themselves. He didn't understand. Why are you still whining about something in the past? Sasuke stared at Naruto in disbelief. Was he about to be lectured by the dead last? Yeah, we lost the scrolls, but we're alive. As long as I can still crawl, I intend to pass this exam. What about you, Sasuke? Those words haunted the last Uchiha the rest of the day and most of the night. What did you say? Sarutobi asked as he stood up and slammed his hands on the table. Orochimaru infiltrated the village and attacked a group of Konoha genin, Guy said, nimbly sitting on a chair. His whole body felt like it was on fire from opening up so many gates, but he had to make this report. I was summoned into the forest by their scrolls and engaged him in battle. He's dead now. Sarutobi opened and closed his mouth several times, something Might Guy had never seen before. Finally, the Hokage seemed to regain some composure. Bird, rat, dog. I want you to the location immediately. Guy felt the presence of the three Anbu leave in a hurry. What was he doing here? Sarutobi asked as he slumped down into his chair. I apologize, Hokage-sama. I was too focused on trying to survive the battle. I didn't interrogate him at all. I also failed to spare his life. Guy attempted to stand up to bow, but instead, he cringed from the pain shooting through his body. The Hokage shook his head. He never would have talked anyways. Furthermore, it is a miracle you managed to survive at all, let alone kill him. He had been heavily injured before I had shown up. Both my team and Kakashi's had been engaged in battle with him, not to mention Haku had been fighting as well. Guy had a faraway look as he spoke. Yakushi Kabuto. He aided me in landing the killing blow. Do you know him? Sarutobi pulled at his beard. The head surgeon's son, I believe. He was the only one found alive on a battlefield some years ago. That's all I remember. Compared to his famous past, he doesn't stick out much. Guy rolled the thought around in his head for a few moments. Eventually, he decided against mentioning the feeling he had when he had been talking to Kabuto. It was probably nothing anyway. After all, he had helped him win the battle. My team isn't going to be able to get a new scroll, are they? Unfortunately, this exam is now the least of my worries. I'm sorry, Guy. Sarutobi tilted his hat towards the youthful man. No, that's okay. They'll pull through. I know it. Day 2, Sabaku Q. Gaara said impassively as he closed his hands. The man encased in Gaara's sand could only scream as he was crushed to death and his insides were spilled everywhere. How disgusting, Kiba spoke lowly from his hiding spot in the bushes. He looked at his two teammates. Hey, we should get out of here. Shino nodded in agreement, but Sakura didn't make a single move. Instead, she sat there trembling. Hey, Sakura, come on, we gotta get out of here. Kiba shook her shoulder slightly. Sakura gave no outward reaction, instead, she kept staring at the blood that was still raining onto the snowy ground. Hey, no, stop, don't kill us too. Kiba spun his attention back to the other two AIM ninjas. They were now also encased in the redhead sand. No, please, we'll do anything you want. The two of them were in hysterics as they screamed for mercy. Gaara ignored their pleas as he rose them up into the air. Stop screwing with us. We'll team up with you. We have an Earth Scroll, just take it. Sabaku Q. Kiba wasn't sure what happened. But 1 second Sakura was laying in the bush next to him and the next she was in plain sight of that crazy Suna ninja. Stop it. Can't you hear them? She shouted too late. They were already dead. Silence followed her outburst on both sides. What the hell? Kankuro finally managed to say. After that, everything sprang into motion. Temari ran forward and pulled out her fan. Kiba and Shino jumped from their hiding places and grabbed Sakura. Temari swung her fan. Teammate jumped out of the way just in time and started making a run for it. Damn it, after them! Temari yelled. She quickly took into the trees after the group. Gaara! Kankuro shouted. You stay here and look for the scroll. You leave that group to us. They might have a heaven scroll, which we need. Gaara said nothing but he glared evilly at his older brother. Kankuro shivered a little before he ran off too. Well. Looks like we lucked out and found ourselves a group of newbies. Wouldn't you say, Yoroi? I think, you're right, Misumi. TCH, troublesome, Shikamaru said lazily as he stood up from where he was sitting. I told you guys a fire would draw unnecessary attention. Don't you criticize us. It's freaking cold, you lazy bastard. Ino shouted as she too stood up. And Choji, quit stuffing your face. Enemies are here already. Choji quickly finished his bag of chips before he wordlessly stood up as well. Well, this should be fun. The one called Yoroi said as he cracked his knuckles and stepped forward. Wait a second there, Shikamaru said, holding his hand up. If I'm not mistaken, isn't your third teammate Kabuto? What of it? Misumi asked. Well, I'm just saying, but I doubt he would want you guys attacking us, being first-timers and all. Shikamaru shrugged. Don't think we give a damn what he has to say. Yoroi shouted as he charged with a kunai drawn. He stopped within 10 feet of his opponent, hunched over slightly. Yoroi, what's wrong? Misumi edged forward slightly. I can't move. What kind of jutsu is this? Kagemain no jutsu, successful. Shikamaru let out a small smirk. You bastard. When did you weave this jutsu? When I was still sitting down. I had my back to you guys, after all. Shikamaru explained lazily as he watched his free opponent carefully. Unfortunately for you, I now know to attack from a distance. The man pulled out several shurikens. Dodge this. He suddenly froze up too. Then his body collapsed. Misumi. What the hell happened? Yoroi couldn't turn his head to see. Here you go. Shikamaru turned his head for him. Yoroi watched as Misumi slowly stood back up. Well. Looks like I made it. Misumi laughed aloud. Misumi, what are you talking about? Yoroi wasn't sure what was going on anymore. Let me explain. Shikamaru turned his head back straight. You see how my teammates are unconscious behind me? You don't mean, yep. She's invaded your friend's mind. Now it's 3-on-1, what are you going to do? Yoroi grimaced from behind his mask. I'm going to kill you all. He roared. Suddenly his body started jerking slightly. Shit. Ino, Choji. He's breaking free. Shikamaru shouted just as he lost the jutsu completely. Yoroi then charged at him. Nikuden Sha. Choji roared as his body inflated. His head and limbs popped inside his clothes and he started rolling at a great velocity toward his opponent. Damn! Yoroi dove out of the way of the ball before he was flattened. When he got up, his hand was glowing blue. Don't try anything funny. Misumi's body roared as he jumped at his teammate. Yoroi dodged his punch and delivered a strong kick to his teammate's chin. Blood flew from his mouth as he stumbled backward. At that same moment, blood flew from Ino's mouth. Interesting, Yoroi said aloud as Choji came rolling back through. This time when he jumped out of the way he lightly tapped onto Choji's side. The ball veered out of control a little. On his way back Yoroi did the same thing. Choji was wobbling now. Oi, Choji. Leave it to Ino. His hand is doing something strange to your chakra. Shikamaru called. Gotcha. Choji stopped rolling and popped out as his normal self, panting heavily. So what are you going to do, Yoroi? You can't kill your teammate, now can you? Ino taunted as she slowly approached her foe. I'm onto your game. Yoroi stood his ground. Any damage my teammate takes, your real body takes. What a disappointing ability. Ino stopped in her tracks. You wouldn't kill your friend, would you? Yoroi took advantage of her sudden pause and charged. Ino didn't have a chance as he grabbed and twisted her arm and slammed his teammate's body to the ground. I'll tell you now, you chose the wrong body to enter when you chose his. How about I show you why? Yoroi suddenly kicked in his teammate's elbow and snapped the arm backward. No! Shikamaru shouted as he heard Ino's elbow snap. What the hell? Ino shouted in confusion. That didn't hurt at all. Yoroi let their arm go and it snapped right back into place. That's right. Misumi's body is special. Too bad your body doesn't seem to share its attributes. Yoroi grabbed his teammate's leg and gave a mighty twist. Ino, leave the body. Shikamaru shouted as he watched his teammate's leg spin unnaturally. Shikamaru, I'm sorry. Ino shouted before Misumi's body went limp again. Damn, and I was going to go for the neck this time. Yoroi laughed as his real teammate started to stand back up. Took you long enough, asshole. Don't be so rough with my body next time. Misumi cracked a few of his bones. Ino suddenly gave a great cry of anguish as her mind returned to her body. Heh, serves you right, bitch. Yoroi chuckled. I believe it's 2-on-2 now. Shikamaru scoffed. You'll pay for that. He quickly ran through his hand seals. His shadow then sprang to life and charged the two older genin. Sorry, but we won't be caught by that again. Both of them jumped back. Instead I think we'll take our time with Fatso over there. What the hell did you call me? Choji screamed. Oops, looks like we hit a pressure point. Sorry, but I won't let you guys escape, Shikamaru said as he neared his opponents with great speed. What the when did he get so fast? Shikamaru's shadow hit them just as he quit running. While those leg weights are usually a pain in the ass, they help for when I need to surprise someone. Shikamaru gestured to a set of weights he'd left in the snow behind him. Gonna have to tell Gai Sensei he taught me something useful after all. Alright, Choji. Nail them good. Definitely. Choji roared, already in his ball form and rolling towards the enemy. No one gets away with calling me fat. Whoa there, big guy. Kabuto suddenly appeared in front of Choji with one hand raised and instantly stopped in his tracks. Choji! Shikamaru screamed. He didn't dare move though for fear of releasing his targets. No worries, Shikamaru-kun. I simply stopped him from crushing my teammates. I'd hate to have to repeat because they died, you know? Shikamaru studied him closely. He could have sworn he saw Kabuto's hand glow just a moment before he stopped Choji. Maybe he was wrong. I know what you mean, however, your guys attacked us first. Yes, yes. I apologize. I'll be sure to scold them. Kabuto sent a glare to his two teammates. You guys are always so overconfident. That's what gets you into trouble. When you're going to defeat an opponent, do it precisely. Like this. With a flick of his wrist, 3 separate kunai plunged deeply into Shikamaru's torso. Shit! Shikamaru stumbled back and dropped his jutsu. Now don't worry, I kept him quite alive. So you can torture him as much as you want. Although I'd start with the fat one. I cut his voice box with my chakra no Mezu, but once he's over the shock he'll be quite capable of fighting. Kabuto continued lecturing his teammates as if nothing had happened. You bastard. Shikamaru slowly started to sit back up. He grabbed a kunai and began to pull it from his body. I wouldn't do that, if I were you, Shikamaru-kun. Kabuto walked up to him and bent down. You see, if you pull it out, the blood will run more freely. How about I help you and put it in a little deeper? Kabuto grabbed the handle and gave it a slight twist. Shikamaru let out a scream of pain. Oh, I'm sorry, perhaps I was a little too rough? Kabuto smirked maliciously as he reached into Shikamaru's pouch. Here it is. Kabuto pulled out his scroll. Ah, an Earth one too. Just what I was looking for. Thank you, Shikamaru-kun. Kabuto stood back up and walked over to his teammates. Don't take too long. Something big has happened. I'm going to meet with Sakan's team now and I've already deployed doses. Kabuto whispered to them before he took off into the trees. Both of them gave small chuckles. Guess we should start with the fat one then? Yoroi asked. As if I'd listen to that guy. No, I'm gonna have some fun with this shadow-manipulating bastard. Misumi answered as he made his way over to his target. Damn it, come on, Shikamaru think. Try as he might, the lazy boy couldn't get his body to move. Typical, being it was the one time he wanted it too. Take this, dog boy. Temari shouted as she gave another wave of her fan as she chased after Kiba. Just like before, with each wave, the limbs of trees were chopped into pieces and sent tumbling to the ground. Kiba, again, narrowly dodged the torrent of death. You're crazy, you know that? Kiba roared as another gale approached him. Ah, shit. He took cover behind one of the massive trees. I hope Sakura and Shino are doing better against that cat guy than I am here. Akamaru gave a slight whine from the inside of his jacket. You know what, that's not a bad idea. Kiba responded to the dog. I may get a little cut up but it might work. Don't just talk to yourself. Kiba dropped to his feet as Temari used the fan like a mallet and slammed it against the tree where his head had just been. As Kiba rolled away he dropped a couple of smoke bombs that went off. Are you screwing with me? Temari opened her fan and blew all the smoke away with one mighty swing. Kiba was nowhere in sight. TCH, what kind of man are you? Running away from a girl like this isn't chivalrous at all. Fine, then I'll face you, heathen. Temari turned to see a giant gray drill flying at her. Getsuga. Kiba roared as Temari rolled out of the way. Kiba barely missed but Temari still felt her clothes tear slightly. That's more like it. Temari shouted as she readied her fan. Kiba came spinning back around. Take this. She gave her fan another big swing. Kiba ran straight into the wind this time. At first, he seemed like he was going to be able to drill clear through it. But then he started to wobble and then he veered off completely. Kiba slammed painfully into the ground. Damn! Kiba said as he slowly started to rise to his feet. He didn't get far as Temari's metal fan slammed into his ribs. Time's up. Temari said as she brought her fan above her head. Kiba coughed blood. Yeah, for you it is. He said triumphantly. Temari had no time to ask what he meant as another drill slammed into her body from the back. She screamed with pain as the drill picked her up off her feet and then slammed her into a nearby tree. She fell limply to the ground as the second drill was revealed to be another, more feral-looking Kiba. In a poof of smoke, Akamaru was standing there instead. Nice going, Akamaru. Kiba called while he limped up to his neendog. The dog barked before it walked up to him whimpering. Nah, I'm fine. She did nail me good but nothing that won't heal. She, on the other hand, won't be up for a week. Kiba gave a loud laugh but then quickly gripped his ribs in pain. Akamaru gave another whimper to show its concern. We need to worry about our teammates for now. We'll take care of it later. Suddenly the sound of feet crunching on the snow reached their ears. They both turned their heads up and gave a big sniff. Crap, it's that face paint guy. We gotta hide, fast. Kiba limped over to a group of nearby fallen branches and quickly nestled his way inside them. Just as he did, Kankuro came running out into the clearing. Damn it! Where'd those brats go? He scanned around the area for a minute. Then he caught sight of his downed sister. Temari? Temari! He shouted and quickly began to run over to her. As he neared her he felt something funny starting to happen. Was the world distorting? No, it was more like it was spinning. The hell? Kankuro held his head as the world began to spin faster and faster. Genjutsu, Kankuro snapped his eyes shut and focused hard. When he opened them back up the world was right again. He quickly ran over to his sister, picked her up, and ran out of the clearing. Don't worry, I'll get you to a safe spot. Once I do, I'll take care of those guys. His sister stirred slightly. Kankuro? She whispered slowly. Yeah, it's me. Here. I'm gonna set you down. Kankuro stopped jogging and leaned her up against a tree. You wait right here. I'll knock these bastards out. He turned to head out but Temari grabbed a hold of his pant leg. Wait. I'll come with you. She slowly stood back up. What? No way. Kankuro turned around to face her. You're hurt. I know you want even. Kankuro was cut off as a kunai was run through his heart. What? He stumbled backward slightly. Temari gave him a small, sweet smile. With a poof of smoke, Sakura took her place. You bitch. Kankuro stumbled backward a little farther. Where's my sister? Sakura shrugged. Beats me. After I threw that genjutsu on you, I hinged and took her place. Shino dragged her real body off somewhere. But are you sure you want those to be your last words? Kankuro grimaced and stumbled back a little more. Gay, I'll kill you. He pulled out a kunai and staggered forward. Before he got more than even a few inches, Sakura threw another kunai into his forehead. Kankuro jerked to a stop. His mouth slowly twisted up into a wicked smile. What the hell? Sakura took back a couple of steps as sand began to pour off of Kankuro's body. Soon, a wooden puppet was revealed. The mummy on the puppet's back unraveled and the real Kankuro jumped from it. Too bad for you, whore. Now you're mine. The puppet's hand twisted up and several needles flew from it. Sakura jumped out of the way. The puppet dove after her, a spike extending from its arm. Sakura rolled backward and narrowly dodged it. Next, the head popped off. It flew at her with its mouth open and another needle poised to strike. Sakura screamed and shielded her eyes. To her surprise, and relief, the pain never came. When she opened her eyes, the puppet head was suspended in midair, inches from her face. What the hell are these things? Sakura looked past the head to see Kankuro being overwhelmed by insects. I never thought I'd be happy to see a bug in my life, Sakura said as she stood up and walked around the puppet's head. You're late, Shino. Moving a body takes time. I had to ascertain a good location to stow her. Shino said, stepping out from behind one of the big trees. You couldn't just dump her on the other side of the tree? Sakura asked in annoyance. That would be ill-advised. We could use her as collateral. Perhaps we can talk Gaara into trading the scroll for her life. If I just left her anywhere, there was a chance Gaara or another team would locate her. We would then lose what little advantage we have. Shino's explanation was met with exhausted laughter from Kankuro. Trade? With Gaara? It'll never work. He'd let you kill her and then he'd kill you. Life isn't important to that guy. You might as well run now. You'll never beat him. Kankuro tried to stand up but immediately failed. Just run while you can. Shino considered his words for a moment. His words are disturbing. He concluded. Doesn't matter how disturbing they are. They have an earth scroll. We got heaven. We'll never get another opportunity like this. Kiba stumbled into the clearing. Besides, it's Furanon. There's no way we can lose. Don't be so rash, Kiba. We can't just charge into this. If this guy is as dangerous as he says, we need a plan. Sakura scolded her teammate. There's no time to make a plan. Kiba shouted. And why not? Sakura yelled back. Because he's already here. Was Shino's response. Sakura looked to her teammate and then at where he was looking. Her blood ran cold. There he was. The crazy killer slaughtered people without mercy. Sakura automatically took 2 steps back. Don't back out on us, Sakura. We're a team. We can take this guy. Together. Sakura quit backing up. Kiba, she whispered. She then looked to Shino. He stood at the ready. They were going to fight. She couldn't let them down. She had worked too hard with Kirin Izensei to do that. Sakura swallowed and steeled her nerves. You're right, I'm sorry. Hey, don't sweat it. That's what I'm here for. Kiba formed a hand seal and Akamaru transformed into a perfect copy of him. You defeated my brother and sister, Gaara spoke for the first time. You should be especially tasty. His sand came alive and flung itself at them. Shikamaru let out another roar of pain as Misumi snapped yet another finger backward. Choji watched in mute horror from his position on the ground. Yoroi sat on top of him, his foot planted on his face. His hand slowly sucked the chakra from his body. Ino lay unconscious, neither man had touched her yet. Heh, this is too much fun. What bone should I snap next, huh, Shikamaru-kun? Misumi laughed cruelly. Go to hell, Shikamaru said between clenched teeth. What was that, punk? Misumi socked Shikamaru right in the chin, slamming his face into the ground. I was being nice, giving you a few extra minutes in this world. But I'm not so sure you have the right attitude. Maybe I should just snap your neck right here? Misumi grabbed onto his throat. Shika, Choji's voice called out just lightly, tears streaming freely from his eyes and into the snow. Say goodbye, Konoha-senpai. Misumi was sent flying as a powerful spinning kick connected with his gut. What the hell? Yoroi immediately got off of Choji as the new visitor appeared. A kid in disturbing white spandex. Lee, Shikamaru whispered. Do not worry, Shikamaru-kun. I will pay these guys back tenfold for what they have done to you. Shikamaru had never seen Lee so angry before. He couldn't help but smile a little. Things would be okay with him here. Yeah, knock 'em dead for me. Sasuke sat alone inside the igloo. Not entirely alone, Niji and Tenten were still there but unconscious. No one had shown up and as planned, Team Guy had cleared out, leaving Sasuke alone to his thoughts. What do I plan to do? He asked himself the same question over and over again. He was beginning to realize how weak of a person he was. Tenten and Niji were so much stronger than him. They had fought their all against the Sannin while he had stayed back in fear of the greater foe. Just like it had been with his brother. Now he was again frozen in fear from going out into the forest on his own. The 3 of them had gone separate ways without a fear in the world, but he couldn't take that first step. So he was stuck here inside the igloo, waiting for his teammates to recover. Guess I'm on my own if anyone from the exam shows up then. A sudden crack alerted Sasuke's attention. He took a quick peek around outside. He did not doubt that his team was well hidden, but he still couldn't take any chances. To his horror, a team stood in the clearing right outside his base. By the looks of things, the team was from Hokage. "Oh, Sasuke." The taller male called. "Come out of there. We'd like to have a chat with you." Sasuke ducked down. "Shit, how did they find us? We could also hear you talking to yourself a mile away. You shouldn't underestimate our abilities. Orochimaru taught us himself." Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise. He emerged from the safety of their hideout and approached the Oto team in the clearing. "What, your boss too weak to handle me himself?" he jeered. The girl laughed. "As if. More like he's too busy now. He told us to find and capture you. He doesn't care what happens to your teammates anymore. You must have set him off." Sasuke smiled slightly. It would appear they weren't aware their leader had even died. Someone else must be calling the shots while taking advantage of their ignorance. "The proctor won't be able to help you. We are actual participants in the exam." Sasuke already knew that this time. "Afraid it's just you and us." The mummy-like boy charged at him. Sasuke shifted into his fighting stance and activated his Sharingan. The boy swung and Sasuke stepped back, dodging his blow. Sasuke spun around and clocked the boy in the head with a powerful kick. "Got you," Sasuke said before his vision started to blur. "And you." The mummy-like boy responded as Sasuke hunched over and barfed. "Heh, how pathetic." Zaku brought up one of his arms. Suddenly a stream of air fired from it and slammed into Sasuke, knocking him clear into a tree. "I don't even see why Orochimaru wants this guy. He's worthless compared to us." Sasuke cursed as he attempted to get up. Why was it always like this? He performed so well in academics, but when he got into the actual field he always seemed to fail. "Zaku. Kin. Get down." Dosu roared. Zaku dropped down just in time, but Kin didn't react fast enough. An arrow flew through the back of her head and exited out the front. Her brains were scattered everywhere as her body fell limply to the ground. Dosu rose his arm up and deflected a third arrow that would have taken his head as well. "Kin." Zaku roared. "Who the hell are you?" He spun around looking for the one who killed his teammate. "Huh? Show yourself." He fired a shot of air randomly into the trees. "Hinata?" Sasuke said weakly as he stumbled to his feet. His eyes slowly began to harden in resolve. "I'm tired of needing to be saved." Sakura quickly formed a group of seals before she barely dodged Gaara's whip of sand. "Getsuga!" Kiba roared as he and Akamaru slammed into his sand defense again. They were both easily batted away. "What the hell, Sakura? I thought you were putting him in a genjutsu." Kiba shouted as he stumbled up from where he landed. "I did, but it's like the sand has a mind of its own." Sakura cried as she slid around several more sand whips. "What about you, Shino? I don't see your insects doing anything. That has got to be taking up chakra." Kiba jumped out of the way of the sand that was directed at him. "I just dispatched a group of my insects and they were exterminated on contact. There might not be much I can do to aid us in this fight." Shino rolled under a whip that had been aimed to trip him. "Damn it, then how the hell are supposed to win this one?" Kiba roared. A hand of sand suddenly shot out and managed to grab a hold of him. "Disappear." Gaara whispered and closed his hand. "Kiba." Sakura shouted as she started to run for her teammate. She wasn't going to get there in time. Fortunately, Akamaru managed to drill through it in time, setting Kiba free. "Thanks, bud." Kiba shouted as he jumped away. It is apparent that there is no winning, Shino said as he rolled up next to Sakura. Then what do we do? Sakura asked as she looked at her teammate. We give up, Shino said calmly as he stood up. We surrender garrison. No more. He shouted across the clearing. All the sand suddenly stopped. What the hell did you just say? Kiba yelled from atop a branch. Don't be an imbecile, Kiba. He is far superior to us. Shino reached into his pocket and pulled out their scroll. Here is our scroll. It happens to be the one you need. We'll hand it over to you along with the location of your sister in return for letting us go. Gaara laughed in response. Shino pushed up his glasses in irritation. I am making a serious proposition. Gaara's laughing immediately ceased. A scary moment of silence rang over the forest. I don't care about your offer. The only thing I want is blood. His sand shot forward and grabbed a hold of Shino. Shino! Sakura screamed as she latched onto him and pulled him back. The only thing left was his arm when Gaara closed his hand. With a sickening crunch and a scream from Shino, and the scroll along with his arm were gone. Damn it! He was trying to negotiate with your asshole. What right did you have to steal his arm? Kiba roared and charged at his target of rage. Gaara's sand immediately intercepted him. No, Kiba. Someone save him. Sakura cried again. Akamaru wasn't close enough this time. Suetun, Mizurapa no Jutsu. A wave of water suddenly rose up and before anyone knew what was happening, washed away Gaara and his sand. Kiba, you okay? Naruto said as he landed next to him. Naruto? What are you doing here? What does it look like? I'm saving your asses. Naruto said as he smiled triumphantly. Who said I wanted to be saved by you? Kiba put his forehead right up against Naruto's. What was that, dog breath? Naruto returned Kiba's glare. Idiots. Move! Sakura yelled. Huh? They both turned to see a giant tree branch flying at them. Oh, shit! They both jumped in an opposite direction to get out of the way. How interesting, so we did meet here today. Naruto's blood ran cold as Gaara slowly walked back into the clearing, a huge, deranged grin on his face. This makes me so happy that I get to kill you today, Uzumaki Naruto. What the hell is this guy talking about? Kiba looked back and forth between Naruto and the red-headed maniac. Did you do something to piss him off? Naruto managed a tight-lipped smile. Something like that. He glanced briefly over to where Shino and Sakura were. He then looked back to Kiba. Get your teammates and get them out of here. Kiba gave him a furious stare. Don't tell me what to do. You think I'm just gonna leave you to fight this guy on your own? Before Naruto could respond, another giant log slammed into his body and carried him off. Naruto. Kiba stared at the spot the boy had been with huge eyes. You bastard. He spun to the redhead. He wasn't even paying attention. What's your problem? I'm not interested in your talk. I want to kill him now. Gaara said impassively. That does it. You've hurt too many people. Kiba went to take a step forward but a hand on his shoulder stopped him. Calm down, Kiba. I'm all right. He spun around. Naruto stood right next to him, completely unharmed. To further Kiba's surprise, he was holding Kankuro's semi-conscious body. Wah. How? Kiba fumbled for the proper words. Just 1 second, I'll explain. Naruto walked past Kiba and looked straight at Gaara. He then held up his hand with only his index finger extended. 1 minute, Gaara. I'll fight you in 1 minute. Silence rang across the clearing. Kiba was baffled. This guy couldn't be reasoned with. Why would he listen to anything Naruto had to say? You have 50 seconds left. Kiba's mouth hit the ground. Gaara was giving him a minute? Naruto wasted no time. He spun around and gave Kiba a hard look. It was a shadow clone. I have another one next to your teammates. Kiba spun back to see another Naruto talking to Sakura. He's telling her to take Shino and run as we speak. They'll need someone to keep them safe. Naruto looked purposefully at him. No way. I can't let you fight this maniac by yourself. Do you have any idea how strong this guy is? Kiba shouted in exasperation. I do. Naruto's blunt reply shocked Kiba silent. But you have to trust me, I'm the only one who can take him. Understand each other. Kiba gave him a baffled stare. Understand each other? He said skeptically. How can anyone understand that guy? Just leave it to me, Kiba. Naruto ignored his question. Take care of your team. Kiba. They both turned to look at Sakura. Don't listen to Naruto. Just stay with him. The two of us will be okay. Without waiting for an answer, Sakura hoisted Shino by his one arm and started running out of the clearing with him. Kiba smirked and turned to see Naruto staring at his teammates with his mouth agape. I understand your good intention, but we won't let you take this guy by yourself. Naruto turned an annoyed glare back to him. Then you and your mutt take care of this guy. Naruto threw Kankuro to a surprised Kiba. Kiba barely caught his heavy body. What do I look like, your luggage boy? I don't want him to get caught up in this. I know it's hard for you to think about right now, but I think this guy was just as afraid of Gaara as you are. Kiba stared hard at Naruto for a few seconds. If things start to get messy, we're jumping in without hesitation. Kiba jumped up to a nearby branch. Akamaru was right on his tail. Sounds like a plan. Naruto took a deep breath and slowly turned back toward his opponent. Gaara stood there patiently. If you had any second thoughts about what I said yesterday, now's your chance. We don't have to do this, Gaara. I already gave you my answer and your minute's up. The sand from Gaara's gourd sprang to life. Naruto began running through hand signs. Suiton, Suiben no Jutsu. The snow around Naruto's feet instantly turned to water and a stream spiraled around his body. It's your move. Gaara said nothing as a whip of sand shot forward. Naruto's water whip adjusted accordingly. Gaara's whip slapped into it with brute force. Water splashed everywhere, but the sand was halted in its tracks. Naruto's water knocked it out of the way and then fired forward. More sand rose from Gaara's gourd and blocked the water before it was able to reach him. Neither combatant had moved even an inch. Interesting, Uzumaki Naruto. You plan to use that water the same way I use my sand? Gaara continued to stare impassively at his opponent. Naruto shrugged. If you can't beat M, join M. Gaara again didn't respond as 3 whips of sand shot forward from his gourd. Naruto ran through more seals. 2 can play at that game. 4 whips of water flew from the snow. 3 intercepted Gaara's whips and 1 continued forward. A wall of sand stood in front of Gaara, blocking it. Suna Shuriken. Blades of sand began firing in rapid succession. Naruto ran through more seals. Suiton, Suijin Hiki no Jutsu. A wall of water rose in front of him, but Naruto didn't stop there. Suiton, Mizu Shuriken no Jutsu. Water pellets to match Gaara's sand were fired off from the wall. Sand and water slammed into each other relentlessly. Meanwhile, Naruto was already running through more hand signs. Suiton, Suiben no Jutsu. More whips rose and traveled forward, skirting the outside the range of the shuriken fire. They both went to strike Gaara from either side. To Naruto's irritation, more sand rose to deflect them. Gaara's sand immediately went on the offensive and copied Naruto's trick. Naruto grit his teeth and rose his whips back up to block the quickly flying whips. This was getting him nowhere fast. He was going to have to improvise to gain any ground here. Naruto took a quick chance to glance around at his surroundings. Something immediately caught his eye. That'll work. One of Naruto's whips grabbed a splintered piece of wood from one of the massive branches. They then hurled it toward his opponent. Just before it hit, the sand blocked it and let it fall uselessly to the floor next to his feet. Naruto. You're running out of water. Look out. Kiba's warning came too late as Naruto used up the last of the water in his current vicinity. What was left of his wall fired off into shuriken and his whips dribbled out of existence. Now nothing stood between him and an array of firing sand. Naruto wasn't given a chance to move as his body was torn apart by the razor-sharp blades of sand. Pathetic. Who's pathetic? Gaara's eyes widened in surprise. He didn't have a chance to turn to the voice as a fist slammed into his face. Gaara rose his arm up to get his sand to defend him. Don't even try it. Another fist slammed into his stomach. Naruto then jumped and delivered a spinning kick to his opponent's face, cracking it, knocking him down, and pushing him back away from the protection of his sand. However, Naruto was still in the middle of it all. It rose in a dome around him and compressed inwards. Gaara stared at the dome for a second. No blood or screaming came from it. He slowly stood up. I see, that's how it is. He turned back to where Naruto had been standing when their duel began. He was still there as if nothing had happened. Kawarimi no Jutsu. That's right. Naruto grinned happily. It worked like a charm. You let that log sit right next to you, inside your guard. I swapped in, knocked your ass around, and then swapped right back out. Pretty genius if I say so myself. Gaara stared at him silently. The cracks in his face were slowly repairing. I guess that armor of sand you were wearing meant you were prepared for it though. It hurt like a bitch to punch you. Naruto shook the hand he had used to punch Gaara with. Naruto, behind you, you idiot. Spikes of sand pierced Naruto through the torso before the boy could even turn around. He stood there gasping for air for a few moments before bursting into smoke. Don't think I'd pick the same spot to stand. Gaara turned to his right. Naruto was charging right at him again. His sand instantly rose to his defense but Naruto dodged and rolled out of the way. He made it within Gaara's guard and landed another punch on the boy's chin. Naruto then backflipped away before the sand struck him from behind. How? Gaara asked as he stumbled back to his feet. More cracks were present on his face. Come on Gaara. Don't tell me you're surprised. Naruto rolled out of the way of the sand and into Gaara's guard again. With two quick jabs to the chin, Naruto dove out of the way again. Gaara's armor broke away completely now. You weighed the sand down with your water. Gaara spat out. Yep, normally, I wouldn't be fast enough to run around it like this, but with your sand this heavy, there's no way I'm going to get caught. Naruto slipped back into the guard and aimed another punch at Gaara's chin. The boy managed to raise his arm just in time to block the blow, but he was still sent spinning to the ground. Oh, so you know how to block a punch after all? Naruto laughed as he danced backward through the sand again. Without warning his feet suddenly sunk into the ground. Gaara smirked evilly as the sand slowly rose him up. You can use that stuff to fly? Naruto tugged as hard as he could but he couldn't get his feet out. Instead, he began to sink deeper. You will sink 50 meters where the pressure will without a doubt crush your body, Gaara said. Even if you do escape before that happens, you will be forced to fight from the trees as I have turned all the ground in the immediate vicinity to such a substance. Let's see your fist reach me now, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto grit his teeth at his opponent. Damn you, Gaara. So which one of you should I beat to a pulp first? Lee asked as he finished cracking his knuckles. You bastard, Misumi slowly leaned himself up from the tree he had been slammed into. I'm going to kick your ass. Now, Misumi. Why don't you let me have a go at this one? Yoroi stepped in between his partner and the spandex-clad genin. No freaking way. I owe the bastard one. Let me have him. Misumi walked up next to Yoroi. You got to have all the fun torturing Pineapple Head. It's my turn to torture someone. Yoroi glared at his partner through his shaded glasses. Fine, just make it fast. Misumi walked over and plopped down on top of Choji. Get off of him, Lee said as he settled into his stance. What was that, punk? You want to make me? Misumi taunted from his spot. I shall. Lee went to move forward to Yoroi was instantly upon him. Lesson number 1, never take your eyes off your opponent. Yoroi swung and Lee easily caught his fist. Lesson number 1, never hurt my friends. Lee bent Yoroi's hand backward with such force that his wrist broke with an audible snap. Yoroi let out a howl of pain as he attempted to stumble backward. However, Lee wasn't done just yet. He pulled the masked shinobi forward and drilled his knee right into the man's stomach. A powerful backhanded fist to the face later and he was sent painfully to the floor. Your turn, Lee said to a still confused Misumi. He took a step forward but paused as a hand grabbed onto his ankle. He turned his head and saw a glowing hand that belonged to Yoroi. I got you now, punk. I'll have all your chakra gone in a matter of moments. How do you plan to fight me then? Yoroi let out a small chuckle. Lee stared at his still downed opponent for a moment, pity obvious in his eyes. It is most unfortunate for you. I am the worst kind of enemy you could come up against. Huh? Yoroi looked up at him, clearly confused. I do not make use of chakra. I only use taijutsu. Your technique is just wasted effort on me. Yuri lying. Yoroi slowly stumbled back to his feet. I'll prove it. I've taken enough chakra now that there's no way you'll be able to fight back. Lee stared at him for another long moment. First gate, open. Die. Yoroi charged at his opponent. Lee vanished from his sight and a second later a foot slammed into his chin from straight below. Yoroi was launched high into the air. As he reached the arc of his fall, Lee appeared behind him, the bandages on his arms already spinning around and ensnaring his opponent. You bastard! Yoroi struggled to break free but to no avail. He could do nothing as Lee grabbed onto him when they began to descend. Omote Renge! Lee cried as they began spinning violently fast. Yoroi was powerless to do anything as his head was slammed into the ground, crushing his skull and shattering his neck. Lee meanwhile, landed nimbly next to his corpse. He settled back into his stance and stared straight at Misumi who still had yet to move. Show yourself. Zaku roared as he continued to fire randomly into the trees. You'll pay for what you did to Kin. I'll rip your throat out. Zaku, you fool. Get down. Dosu tackled his teammate to the ground just as an arrow flew over their heads. Zaku looked up to see another 2 arrows flying toward them. He shot 2 streams of wind at the arrows, shattering them before they got anywhere near them. Now I got you. Zaku settled into a crouch, his hands pointed at the ground. Firing his wind cannon, he was launched high into the air. Zaku fell into the trees and landed on the branch he thought his opponent was at. No use hiding anymore. Zaku cautiously walked along the branch he was on. A small whistling sound reached his ears and Zaku stepped back just in time. An arrow struck right into the branch at his feet, an explosive tag attached to it. Shit! Zaku used his cannons to launch himself skyward again. The explosion was hot on his tail. As he ascended he finally caught sight of the person who had killed his teammate. Zaku turned his cannon and fired at her. Hinata nimbly jumped out of the way, firing another arrow as she did. Zaku pointed his hands behind him and launched himself towards her, dodging out of the way of the arrow as he did. Zaku flew with frightening speed towards his opponent and Hinata had little time to do much other than drop her bow and guard as he rammed into her with all his might. I got you now, you bitch. Zaku shouted with glee as he and Hinata rocketed away from the tree and out into the clearing. He brought his arm around and prepared to fire his cannon, but Hinata's palm strike was faster. Zaku coughed blood as they both began descending towards the forest floor. Hinata pushed away from her opponent and landed on the ground with a hard roll, instantly jumping back to her feet. Zaku fired his cannons again, allowing him to gently touch down. Dosu was on her before she even had her bearings. Take this. Dosu swung a fist towards her. Hinata began spinning instantly. Kaiten. Dosu was blown off his feet and knocked back several feet before his fist got anywhere near her. Zaku pointed his hands at her just as her rotation began to lose speed. Let's see you block this. A foot slammed into the side of his face, knocking him down and keeping him from firing his cannon. Don't forget that there are two of us, Sasuke said as he lowered his foot. You bastard! Zaku wiped the trail of blood from his lip as he slowly sat up. He stood back up. You're both gonna pay. He flung his arm up and fired a cannon. Sasuke was blasted into pieces of mud. He then felt a tight grip on both of his ankles. Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Zaku's body was pulled underground until only his head was sticking out as Sasuke appeared from the earth. Zaku struggled for a moment to get free. Get me outta here, you asshole. You just stay there while we deal with your teammate, Sasuke said as he took off towards where Hinata and Dosu were dueling. Quit spinning. Dosu shouted as his attack was deflected again. Hinata slowed her spin down again and continued to stare at Dosu. I'm going to break through that barrier yet. Dosu panted in exasperation. Your attack is quite fearsome, however, there is no way that those sound waves will ever be capable of making it through my rotation. You are just wasting your time. Hinata said as she stepped cautiously around her opponent. Oh, then why don't you try something other than defending? Dosu taunted. Too scared to drop your guard? He ran forward again, his arm poised to strike. Hinata jumped to the side this time, and when she moved, an array of fireballs came into Dosu's line of sight. Crap! Dosu dove to the ground and just barely avoided the deadly volley. Hinata jumped back in an instant, swinging her palm forward. Dosu rose his shielded arm to block. He was unprepared for the pain spike he felt as Hinata's strike connected. He let out a yelp of pain and stumbled backward, nursing his slowly numbing arm. He didn't even see Sasuke's fist coming until it was buried into his face. Dosu was again ripped from his feet and sent flying to the ground. Sasuke-san, out of the way. Hinata ran forward and pushed Sasuke out of the way. She then quickly stepped back herself, just before a wave of air went flying through. She whirled and stood so her body was facing an already freed Zaku. Sasuke jumped into place and stood with his back to hers so he was facing Dosu. So you stuck around in case something happened, huh? Sasuke turned his head slightly so he could see the back of Hinata. I didn't do it for you, Hinata said without moving an inch. Thanks anyways. This is the second one we owe you for. Sasuke said turning back towards a slowly rising Dosu. Hinata didn't say anything for a few moments. You sound surprising humble. She said after finding the right word. A day in this forest can do that to some people. Hinata didn't respond but Sasuke could swear he heard her nod her head. He's firing his cannon, can I leave the bandaged one to you? Hinata asked as she stepped out of the way. Sasuke ducked below the blast of air. Yeah, we'll talk more when this is done. He charged toward his opponent. Talk to you then. Hinata mimicked his action. Hang on Naruto. I'll have you out of there in just a second. Kiba prepared to jump from the branch to go after Naruto. No. Don't come down here. You'll just get caught too. Naruto said as he continued struggling to get free. Well, how do you plan to get out of there without help? Kiba shouted back down to him. I'm working on it. Naruto was already buried up to his breast and he was sinking faster. His face dawned in realization. I got it. He formed his favorite seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A string of clones popped up into existence, each one holding the ankles of another, all the way up to the branch Kiba was on. Okay, guys, go. Naruto shouted as he locked arms with the clone at the end of the chain. The Naruto on the end of the branch jumped backward off of it. The rest of the clones were yanked backward and Naruto was instantly pulled free. Each clone slowly popped out of existence until only 4 Narutos were left standing on the branch. Who? That was close. The original said as he wiped his brow. I thought I was a goner there. He turned back to Kiba who was staring silently at the blonde. What's up? Do I got something on my face? Naruto looked down and realized half his body was still covered in mud, easily distinguishing him from his clones. How did you do it? Kiba finally asked. Huh? What do you mean? Naruto turned his attention back to the dog owner. How did you get so strong so fast? The last time I saw you, you were the dead last in class clown. Kiba got angry as he spoke. Now you're fighting toe-to-toe with a guy that my whole team couldn't even get close to. A guy that ripped Shino's arm off without even blinking. Kiba stepped forward and grabbed Naruto by the collar. How the hell did you do it? Naruto stared darkly at Kiba for a minute. He grabbed his arms and stepped Kiba away from himself. How? I worked my ass off. Naruto said calmly. I trained nearly every hour I've been awake for a couple of months now. I put every ounce of my being into becoming stronger. Now I won't let anyone ever look down on me again. I'll make the whole world acknowledge my existence. Kiba couldn't respond to that. For just a brief moment, he saw the same look in Naruto's eyes that he saw in Gaara's. Loneliness. We gotta move. One of Naruto's clones picked up Kankuro and jumped to another branch. Meanwhile, the rest of the clones took off to their separate branches. Kiba quickly took off after the original, and just in time too. The branch they were on was obliterated by a wave of sand. That guy doesn't mess around, Naruto said as he slowly pulled out a couple of trench knives. Kiba observed each of his clones pull out copies of the same weapon. How do you plan to reach that guy with those knives? You can't even touch the ground. Kiba eyed Naruto's new weapon curiously. I plan to fix both problems in one go. Naruto nodded to all his clones. They each gave him a similar nod. You might want to hold on to something, Naruto said as he jumped down. Wait, what are you going to do? Kiba shouted after him. Akamaru let out a small whine as he took Naruto's advice and latched firmly onto the tree. What are you attempting now? Uzumaki Naruto. Gaara said with mild curiosity as each Naruto turned to the trees and rose their arms into a slashing position. Eat this. All 4 Narutos slashed in a wide arc just before they reached the bottom. They then stuck themselves to the tree just a couple of feet above the ground. Kiba stared at Naruto as if he'd grown a second head. What the hell was he playing at? Did he go blind or something? Suddenly a strange creaking sound echoed across the whole area. Without warning, all the trees began tipping forward. What the? Kiba couldn't even finish his sentence as the tree he was on picked up speed in its descent. He quickly scampered the top side to the tree, Akamaru right behind him. Gaara's eyes widened in surprise as all the trees descended upon him. He could only raise more sand to his defense as they all piled on top of him. After a full minute of creaking and crashing, the trees finally grew silent as they sank partially into the quicksand that Gaara had made earlier. Each Naruto jumped up on the top side of one of the downed trees. One of them was still holding onto Kankuro. The original walked up to Kiba and gave him a nice pat on the back. Told you I had this, Naruto said cheerfully. Did you beat him? Kiba asked in astonishment. He didn't even care what Naruto had done, as long as it finally did the trick. Of course not, Naruto said as he began walking towards the center of the toppled trees. Suddenly they all started rumbling. Sand burst violently from the center of the trees and Gaara slowly emerged from his protective barrier, laughing maniacally. Fantastic! This is fantastic, Uzumaki Naruto. Gaara's laughter slowly died but a truly wicked grin remained on his face. Killing you will without a doubt transform me into a perfect being. I can hardly wait. Sand fired in violent whips toward Naruto. Naruto raised his chakra knives and slashed at the sand. It split apart and fell uselessly around him. Don't be an idiot, Gaara. You've seen what these knives can do. No matter how tough your guard, there's no way it'll withstand a slash by these. The sand that lay around Naruto turned into spikes and shot upwards. Naruto ducked and swung his blade again. The sand was again split apart. Gaara, please. Can't you see I want to be your friend? You don't have to be lonely anymore. Gaara's sand whipped outwards again and Naruto was forced to roll out of the way and onto a different tree. What would you know about being alone? Gaara yelled. I've seen you surrounded by all those people. By teammates who don't tremble at your very existence. The only thing we have in common is the burden we carry of being a human sacrifice. Sand continued to whip wildly, forcing Naruto to roll closer to Gaara to avoid being struck. You're wrong. I do know what it's like. I was alone most of my life. It is the worst feeling in the world. Naruto rose and stood completely still. Sand slammed down next to him but he didn't flinch. But it changed when I got a team. I found people who care. A whip of sand slammed into his head, causing blood to run down his face. You can be accepted too. I can help you. Gaara's sand stopped and it all slowly retreated into his gourd. It's too late for me, Uzumaki Naruto, Gaara said quietly. My hand has been long stained by the blood of others. The sand in his gourd sprung back into life. You hear me, Uzumaki Naruto? It's too late for me. TCH, damn. Naruto dove out of the way as sand again began flinging wildly about. If I can't get you to see reason by talking then I'll just have to beat the shit out of you and shove it in your face. All four Narutos began sprinting towards Gaara, each one rolling and slashing their way through the sand, attempting to get to him. Die already! Gaara roared as a whip made contact with one of the clones, slamming it into the ground and dispelling it. Each Naruto was now only 30 feet away. A couple of feet closer and another clone was popped out of existence. Only 2 Narutos remained as they dove closer to their target. Gaara's sand nailed the last clone, popping it as well. Just you and me. All of Gaara's sand switched towards the remaining Naruto. I guess this is gonna have to be close enough. With a great roar, Naruto swung his blade at Gaara. All the sand stopped at once. Time seemed to stand still for everyone. Gaara stared at Naruto with wide eyes. Naruto peered at that sand looming over him. Kiba watched in horror as Naruto appeared to be moments from being crushed to death. Finally, the sand fell harmlessly to the ground around Naruto. The boy let out a sigh of relief as a red slash appeared across Gaara, from his right shoulder to his left hip. Blood sprayed forward and Gaara fell to his knees, still staring at Naruto in shock. What is all this? Gaara's eye slowly shifted down to the blood around him. What is this strange feeling? Don't worry, I cut you just enough to immobilize you. As long as you don't move around, this won't kill you. Naruto said as crouched down in front of Gaara. Fortunately, I managed to get so close though, the farther away, the harder it is to control the exact length of those wind blades. Naruto, you got him. Kiba shouted as he jogged up to the two of them. Akamaru, still shaped like Kiba, was right next to him. Naruto turned slowly to Kiba and gave him a small smile. Yeah, I got him. So what now? You don't intend to let him live, do you? Kiba had heard most of Naruto's pleas but wasn't sure what to make of them. Before Naruto could answer, a blood-curdling scream caused them both to spin around and look at Gaara. He was holding his head, shaking violently, his eyes transfixed on the blood around him. Blood! There's so much of my blood! The sand around them sprang back to life and began to wrap itself tightly around Gaara. What the hell is going on? Kiba said as he took a couple of nervous steps back. I don't know. Naruto rose to his feet. Gaara. Calm down. It's going to be okay. More incoherent screams were the only answer Naruto received. Without warning, a giant poof of smoke filled the area. When it all cleared, a giant tanuki of sand stood where Gaara had once been. What is that? Kiba whispered as he stared up in horror at the thing that stood as tall as the trees around them. It couldn't be, Naruto said, not even hearing Kiba's question. He transformed into his demon. The giant monster's head shifted slightly to look down at them. Uzumaki Naruto, the creature spoke with Gaara's voice. You'll pay for hurting me in such a way. Die! Gaara roared as he punched at the ground where Naruto and Kiba were. You do not look all that surprised that I just killed your teammate, Lee said as he watched Misumi. Nor upset. He added after a moment of thought. If that idiot was dumb enough to be killed by a single kid, then that's his fault, Misumi said as he got up from off of Choji's back. It has nothing to do with me. Lee's eye twitched slightly. Nothing to do with you, Lee repeated slowly. He was your teammate. How can you be so cold? At the very least you should realize that you cannot pass without him. Misumi laughed out loud when Lee finished his outburst, something that only infuriated the genin further. Pass the exam? I don't give a damn about these exams. I only entered under orders. With that idiot dead, I don't have to worry about passing anymore. I can just go crazy and kill all of you little shits as slowly as I want. You make me sick. Lee cleared the distance between himself and his opponent in a single step and punched him hard in the face. Misumi's head spun around several times and stopped facing backward. Lee stepped back in surprise. Misumi's head spun back around and his face was facing Lee again. If I recall correctly, you told Yoroi how unfortunate he was, having to fight someone his ability had no use against. Lee grits his teeth and took another step backward. Now you are in the same position. Your taijutsu will not affect my body. I can dislodge my bones at will, allowing me to bend my body any way I want. Misumi charged at Lee, fist raised. Lee brought his arm up to catch his fist. To his surprise, Misumi's fist bent and his arm spiraled around Lee's arm. It then constricted, keeping Lee from putting distance between himself and his opponent. Misumi threw another punch that connected with Lee's face. Lee stumbled backward. Where do you think you're going? Misumi tugged him back and threw another punch. Lee caught his fist this time and sent a strong kick into Misumi's gut, knocking him backward. Lee gave a tug of his own, pulling Misumi back to him. Two can play at that game. Lee jumped in the air and delivered a spinning kick to Misumi's head. His head bounced sideways and then straightened immediately back out. Bastard, we'll see how you like it when I break your wrist. Misumi constricted his grip more but nothing happened. What the hell? You cannot break my wrist when I am stronger than you are. Lee punched Misumi in the face again, knocking his neck completely backward. Misumi uncoiled his arm and let himself stumble away from Lee. You broke my nose. Misumi's voice came out nasally as he held his hand below his chin. Blood dribbled down into his open palm. So at the very least, your cartilage can be broken, Lee said with interest. If I recall, you never said anything about your bones being immune to damage. You just said you can just disjoint them. Misumi sneered from under his veil. Oh, did I guess right? Lee asked as he stretched his arms. Even if you are right, it'll do you no good. You'll never be able to break them when I can simply stretch out of harm's way. Misumi said as he slowly approached Lee again. We'll see about that, Lee said as he reached into his back pouch and pulled out his nunchaku. He gave it an experimental swing before he settled into a stance with it. You think that toy will help you? Misumi laughed as he charged toward Lee again. I know for a fact that you're just acting tough. Even if you don't use chakra for ninjutsu, everyone needs chakra to survive. You opened the gate to hide your weakness. That may be true, but I still have enough strength left to defeat you. Lee said as he met Misumi's charge. He swung his weapon and Misumi swung his arm like a whip. The two clashed into each other and bounced backward. Misumi's leg stretched behind Lee and pulled forward in an attempt to trip him. Lee backflipped and landed expertly on his feet. He then made a series of quick jabs into his opponent's chest with his nunchaku. Misumi swung his arm, wrapping it around Lee's waist. He hoisted Lee into the air and swung him over his body. He then slammed Lee painfully to the ground. He picked him up and did it again. He repeated the process several times until he released his grip. Lee lay motionless on the ground, bleeding profusely from the massive beating he just received. That's what you get for using one of the inner gates against Yoroi. Your normal dexterity and agility were greatly weakened thanks to your ignorant usage of Su. Misumi was interrupted as he vomited up a heap of blood. Wah! Misumi bent over and coughed up more. Looks like you did not notice, Lee said as he sat up. When I made those series of jabs, I broke all of the ribs in your body. So what? Misumi's nasally voice came out breathlessly. Breathing was quickly becoming difficult for him. He put his hands against the floor and hurled more blood. So, I punctured both of your lungs multiple times with your ribcage, Lee explained. Your lungs are slowly filling with your blood. In just a matter of moments, you will drown in it. Lee shakily rose to his feet. He put his nunchaku back into his pouch. You bast! Misumi hulked up more blood and collapsed completely. Your arrogance and your ability cost you this fight and your life, Lee said as he walked over to Shikamaru. He hoisted the shadow user up slowly. Are you okay? Peachy, Shikamaru said as he let Lee gently move him back over to where Ino and the campfire were. We owe you one. Nah, I know you would do the same for me. Lee laid Shikamaru down as gently as he could, but the boy still hissed in pain. Lee, once you get Choji over here, just leave us. Their third teammate could come back soon. You won't be able to beat him. These wounds are nothing, Shikamaru-kun. I was simply putting on a good show. Lee flexed his muscles and gave Shikamaru a toothy smile. No, it's not that, this guy, he isn't normal. There's no way he should still be a genin. Something is up here. Those guys didn't enter the exam to get a promotion. They're here under orders. I think they infiltrated the village. Shikamaru shifted slightly from where he lay. Those are some serious accusations, Shikamaru-kun. Lee stared at him for a long moment. But I agree with you. Lee gave a small whistle. The shadow clone Naruto had landed down next to him an instant later. Dispel so the original know what happened here. I'm going to take these three back to the igloo. Lee ordered. You got it. The clone saluted and then vanished in a cloud of smoke. You're dead. Zaku shouted as he continually fired bursts of wind that Hinata was easily dodging. Juken. Hinata charged with her hands ready to emit chakra. She swung her arm just as Zaku fired a shot of wind. The two forces collided in a violent blast of energy. A minor explosion knocked both of their arms backward. Hinata recovered first and swung hard with her other arm, catching Zaku right in the chin, sending him flying with the strength of the blow. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke inhaled deeply and then breathed out a giant ball of fire. Dosu rolled out of the way and made another attempt to get close to Sasuke. The Uchiha ran through more hand seals but wasn't fast enough as Dosu got within range and swung his arm. To his annoyance, Sasuke dissolved into mud right in front of him. Katan, Hozenka no Jutsu. Dosu turned tiredly towards a volley of fireballs approaching him. Damn it, that hurt. Zaku rubbed his chin as he slowly stood back up. You're going to pay, he said as he angled his hands back at Hinata again. As I thought, Hinata said, causing Zaku to lower his hands a little. You and your partner are both one-trick horses. You both rely heavily upon your weapons to do anything. Zaku clenched his teeth. Let's see you say that to me when you're laying dead on the ground. Zaku fired his cannons again. You keep making these threats. Hinata stepped to the side, easily avoiding the wind blasts. Yet you make no show of backing them up. Why, you cocky bitch? Zaku fired another round of blasts. Hinata slipped easily in between them again. Juken! Hinata yelled as she thrust both arms forward and into Zaku's stomach. The boy was lifted off of his feet and fell unconscious before he hit the ground. Dosu jumped out of the way as Sasuke's hands erupted from the snow beneath him. You won't get me with that technique like you did, Zaku. Dosu looked over just in time to watch his last standing teammate collapse from the assault Hinata just dealt him. He sighed in annoyance. There was no winning at this rate. Stop. I surrender. Dosu yelled as Sasuke began running through more seals. Dosu pulled out an earth scroll and laid it down on the snowy ground. I'll give you this in exchange for me and my teammate's life. I can also promise you that we won't attack again during the remainder of this exam. Sasuke eyed him carefully, looking for some kind of trickery. Let him go, Hinata said as she approached the two of them. His scroll is real. They can't pass anyways, so they have no further need to attack you. Sasuke looked towards Hinata and then back at Dosu. He lowered his hands and gave Dosu a small nod. Dosu bowed down to them. Thank you for your kindness. He then got up and walked over to Zaku. After hoisting him onto his shoulders, he wordlessly jumped away. You think he'll be back? Sasuke asked as he walked over and picked up the scroll. Hinata shrugged. For now, I'll let you hold on to the scroll. Lee Senpai and Naruto-kun should be back in a couple of hours at most. If all goes well, they should have a scroll. Sasuke shrugged and pocketed the scroll. You have a lot of confidence in your teammates. They are both strong. It is thanks to them that I can even fight like this. Hinata picked up a couple of the arrows she had fired and slipped them back into her quiver. You killed that girl without hesitation. Is that your first kill? Sasuke caught sight of the bloody arrow that had killed Kin. He was beginning to wonder what happened to the shy girl back in the academy. What happened to the clan loser Niji always talked about? No. On our first crank mission I was forced to take the lives of others. Hinata began cleaning the arrow that had gone through Kin's head. I've learned that if it means I can protect those important to me, I cannot hesitate. Sasuke stared hard at the back of Hinata's head for a few seconds. You mean Niji? He finally said after much deliberation. Hinata stiffened slightly. She then got up and turned towards him. Neji-Niazan may resent me for the past, but I cannot bring myself to hate him. We are family. She slipped the last arrow into her quiver. Sasuke stared at her hard for a few minutes. Her reason didn't settle well with him. After all, he wanted nothing more than to kill his brother. Instead of saying anything about it, he decided to focus on the topic at hand. Anyways, we owe you one. If there is a way we can repay you later, just let us know. Hinata stared at him for a few seconds. It's appreciated, but I didn't do it expecting anything in return. Before Sasuke could say anything more, she turned and cupped her hands over her mouth. Clone-kun. You can come out now. As she said that, Naruto came flying from the trees and landed down in front of Hinata, her bow in his hands. "Oh, clone-kun, you found my bow." Hinata took it from him and gave the clone a quick kiss on the cheek. "Thank you. Now let the original know what happened." The clone nodded and poofed out of existence, a visible blush still on his face before he did. Naruto landed at the base where the trees had been cut down by himself. Kiba and Akamaru were tucked under one of each of his arms. "Phew, that was close," Naruto said as he dropped the two to the ground. "Close is what you call it? It's a darn miracle we escaped at all." Kiba looked up at Naruto and all the annoyance drained from his face. "Naruto? Why are you covered in red chakra?" "That's not important. Kiba, before that thing figures out that we aren't underneath its paw, you gotta get out of here." Naruto watched as the giant tanuki continually slammed its fist into the spot where they once were. "What? I thought we told you already, Kiba." Naruto interrupted him. He then turned to face him and Kiba felt his knees weaken at Naruto's glare. "You're in the way. I can't fight and protect you at the same time." Normally Kiba would have a comeback to that, but his mind had temporarily frozen at the moment. The only thing he could do was nod in agreement. Akamaru slowly stood up and put his hand on his master's shoulder. Kiba seemed to snap awake at that moment. "Naruto better not die," Kiba said before he and his dog took off away from the battlefield. "Idiot, I can't die yet. I haven't become the Hokage." Naruto tightened his grip on his chakra knives. At that moment, Gaara finally realized that Naruto wasn't being crushed to death by his fist. He quickly began to scan the area, but it didn't take long to notice Naruto's glowing, red form. "There you are, Uzumaki Naruto. So it would appear you can tap into your demon's chakra like I can the Shikaku's. Is that what that thing is called?" Naruto said, although he doubted Gaara could hear him. "What an ugly name. Although, I guess it fits. Tell me how ugly it is when life is being squeezed out of you." Gaara roared. He spread his arms out wide and an armada of sand shuriken began spewing from the demon's stomach. Damn, that thing would have good ears. Naruto jumped backward into the trees in an attempt to take cover. Unfortunately for him, the trees stood no chance as they were assaulted by the storm of shuriken. The trees were shredded like paper and soon Naruto found himself having to dodge a countless number of them anyways. There were too many for him to keep up with though, and soon Naruto was pelted by half a dozen of them, sending him crashing into the ground. "How do you like that, Uzumaki Naruto?" Gaara's laughter echoed across the forest. Naruto slowly stood himself back up, his wounds already beginning to seal back up. The snow around him was melting from his demon's aura. "Why don't you tell me how you like this? My version of my first water jutsu." Naruto threw his knives into the air and began running through a set of seals. Sushin, Deizuiban no Jutsu. The water all around Naruto rose and began to form a massive stream. Naruto used the water to pick up a downed tree. He then flung the tree right at Shikaku's body. The giant demon was easily able to catch the tree without much difficulty at all. However, it left it open for the whip to smash with great force into the unprotected monster, knocking it over and down to the ground. Naruto dropped the whip immediately after using it, water rolling everywhere in a massive wave, parts of it washing over him. The red chakra around him disappeared and he fell to the ground panting. His chakra blades hit the ground around him. "That's not enough. I have to keep going." Naruto closed his eyes and focused hard. More of the red chakra instantly began wrapping around his body. Naruto felt all his fatigue disappearing. "This is going to get dangerous if I keep doing this," Naruto said aloud, Yamato-sensei's warning of suffering from something called severe chakra burn if he used the aura more than twice in a day ringing in his head. "I'm going to have to take it out with this next strike, at the very least I have to immobilize him. If I could just figure out where Gaara was in that massive thing." Naruto surveyed the massive creature as it clumsily got back to its feet. It was clear that Gaara was not used to controlling the massive body. He probably rarely, if ever, entered this state. Still, the fact that he could be quite humbling to Naruto. If he ever took too much chakra from the Kyuubi, he could end up like him too. Naruto picked up his knives and started moving carefully behind the tree line. The closer he could get before being spotted, the better chance he had at pulling this off. Unfortunately for him, it appeared as if Gaara could sense him now. He must have been picking up on his demonic aura. You can't escape from me. The demon raised its giant arm, and to Naruto's horror, sand began rising from all around him. Naruto dove out from behind the trees and into the open clearing so he could see the sand better. He landed nimbly on a downed tree and began sprinting towards the towering demon. That's when Naruto noticed it. The demon was breathing incredibly heavily. It looked like it was in intense pain. Could Gaara still be bleeding inside that thing? Hey, Gaara. You need to stop fighting now. The more you move about, the more you're going to bleed. You'll die if you keep fighting. Naruto stopped running as sand whipped up from all around him. He spun in a circle, his blades activated. The sand broke apart around him and Naruto charged straight through. Gaara. I know you can hear me. Stop this. Do you want to die? Shut up. Don't act like you are concerned about me. Gaara yelled as he turned around and swung his massive tail towards Naruto. Naruto dropped low and hugged the surface of the tree he was on. Shikaku's tail flew over him by mere inches. He slowly stood back up. But I am concerned about you. I don't want you to die. I finally found someone exactly like me. I already told you. We are nothing alike. Gaara rose his massive arm and swung down at Naruto again. This time the boy was forced to jump out of the way as the hand tore the tree he had been on to splinters. The demon's breath was getting heavier and more ragged. I have no choice then. To stop you from moving, I'm gonna have to knock your ass down. Naruto pumped all the chakra he could into one of his blades and swung hard at Shikaku's leg. It slammed into the leg and halted after barely getting a quarter of the way through. No way. It didn't cut. You're annoying. Gaara swung his cut leg outwards in a kick. Naruto had no way of dodging this time and he was flung well across the clearing of fallen trees right into a still-standing one. Naruto let out a small groan as he slid down into the soft snow beneath him. I'm so glad this aura is on right now. I think that would have killed me if I had been normal. Naruto stumbled back to his feet in time to see another barrage of shuriken flying at him. If that's how you want to play it, Gaara. I'll just have to defeat you, so I can save you. Naruto gave a bestial roar and charged straight into the storm of sand. He jumped, ducked, rolled, and weaved his way through all the sand with great speed, every step bringing him closer to his goal. All right. 2 blades this time. Naruto stuck both blades on one hand and focused what was left of the red chakra on them. Take this, Gaara. Naruto swung again, this time the blade slashed straight through what was left of the leg like it was butter. Gaara could do nothing to maintain his balance and began to fall forward. Not good. Naruto had to backpedal fast before he got flattened by the falling tanuki. He just barely got clear when the thing hit the ground, the massive shockwave from the force sending him flying. Damn you, Uzumaki Naruto, Gaara rumbled, his breath coming in short gasps at this point. I'll kill you yet. The beast itself was no longer speaking as Gaara slowly emerged from its forehead. He was bleeding profusely from his massive cut. Gaara. You must understand by now. We have to stop. You don't have the blood left to go on, and I'm pretty much taxed on chakra too. Naruto said as he stumbled back towards the now visible redhead. This can't be. How can I Locido someone like you when I'm so Clacido perfection? Gaara's head slowly drooped over and he shut his eyes. Gaara. Hey, that's not funny. Gaara. You're alright, aren't you? Gaara. Each time Naruto said his name, his voice got a little louder. Suddenly the Shikaku started breathing again, but that didn't make sense. Gaara was still visible. Then Naruto noticed something troubling. Before, the demon's eyes had been a faded and dull yellow. Now they seemed vibrant. They seemed alive. Ho-ho. Finally. A voice that wasn't Gaara's roared as the beast slowly started to rise itself up. It's been forever since the kid has fallen asleep in this form. Hot dog. The wind feels fantastic. Is that the real Shikaku? Naruto couldn't believe what he was seeing. If the beast was alive though, that meant Gaara had to be too. So that meant he still had time. Shikaku started to stand up but immediately fell over. Ah damn. That kid got reckless and lost a leg. The tanuki stuck its tail underneath itself and then stood back up to its full height. Yeah, that'll work just fine. Shikaku gave a great big laugh. Naruto swung his chakra blade with all his might. Only the very tip of the blade cut into the demon's other leg though and lacked any force to slice the sand at all. Naruto stumbled down to one knee, panting heavily. Damn it. I guess I am out of chakra. I may have no choice but to pull on the fox's power again. Yow. Who the heck's poking me down there? Shikaku peered down and caught sight of Naruto instantly. Oh. Just a wee lil' feller. I know, how about we play a game? The beast said while it clapped at the idea. Naruto ignored the beast and focused hard on pulling out more chakra. Here's how the game goes. I try to kill you, and you just stand there and die. You got it? Shikaku didn't wait for a response. Okay then here we go. The tanuki inflated his stomach and then slammed down on it with one of its fists. Futon, Renkuden. The beast spits a giant air bullet straight at Naruto who disappeared just before it hit. Sorry, but I don't want to play your game. This time the fox's aura will only last a few seconds, enough for one slash. Naruto swung his blade at the demon this time. Don't be such a meanie. The Shikaku used its tail to launch itself straight into the air. Naruto's blade was missed completely. No way. Naruto's eyes followed the beast as it rocketed into the air. It can jump. It was much more coordinated than Gaara had been when he was in control. Futon, Renkuden. Naruto realized too late that he let his surprise cost him. The air bullet slammed with full force into his body, rocketing him downwards towards the still mushy ground. Pieces of mud were flung everywhere as Naruto's body formed a massive crater in the ground. Just as he finally stopped moving, the fox's aura disappeared. Ha! Looks like the damn thing saved my life again. Although this time, I think every bone in my body is broken. Naruto couldn't bring himself to move at all. Not even to wipe away the blood that was leaking into one of his eyes. Aw man, you ain't dead yet? Shikaku landed on the ground outside of the crater, causing a miniature earthquake as he did. Well, I'll just have to fix the Shikaku was cut off as an explosion hit it in the face. What? Who? Naruto tried to turn his head, but couldn't. Naruto, are you okay? A strand of pink hair came into his view. Sakura? Naruto asked in surprise. What are you doing? Get out of here. Not without you. When Kiba showed up without you, I immediately came back. There's no way I could live with myself if we let an idiot like you die for us. Sakura bent down to pick him up. Where the hell do you think you're going with my toy? Sakura whipped around in surprise. Shikaku was completely unharmed. Sakura, you have to run. Naruto yelled. You're no match for it. Sakura turned back to Naruto and smiled sadly at him. No way. She said adamantly. She then turned back to the Shikaku and spread her arms out. You'll have to blast through me too if you want to kill him. Sakura. No. Don't do this. Naruto propped his elbows and attempted to lift himself back up but fell immediately. The Shikaku laughed happily. Yes. Now I get to kill two of them. He inflated his stomach back up. Futon, Sakura, run. I won't. Both genin closed their eyes and waited for the wind blast to kill them. They waited a few moments but nothing happened. They both opened their eyes back up and slowly looked up at the Shikaku. To their surprise was crumbling. No! The beast roared. How is this possible? I can't be dying. I just finally got free. It's not fair. The Shikaku kept shouting unintelligibly as its mouth fell apart. Soon the giant beast was no more. Complete silence rang across the forest. Not a single creature dared to make a noise. Finally, Sakura slipped down to her knees. She was shaking hard. Did it says it was dying? Sakura. The pink-haired girl quickly turned back to the broken blonde. You have to get me up to Gaara. Sakura gave him a questioning look. Please. Any doubts in Sakura's mind fled as she saw the seriousness on Naruto's face. All right. Sakura gently helped Naruto up, his arm wrapped around both of her shoulders. They slowly but surely, one foot in front of the other, began their ascent from the crater and up towards Gaara. When he finally came into sight, Naruto didn't like what he saw. Gaara lay there, motionless, in a pool of his blood. To their surprise, Kankuro was already there, standing just a few feet away, his eyes wide. They both ignored him and Sakura stopped moving just outside of the blood. Naruto broke off from her there and stumbled up to the redhead. He kneeled right down, his clothes instantly covered in his opponent's blood. Gaara, Naruto knew he shouldn't be crying. He'd only known the guy for a little while, and all the time they'd been trying to kill each, yet Naruto felt like he'd known him all his life. And so, tears slid down, falling onto the redhead's face. How strange. Gaara slowly opened his eyes, surprising everyone there. Gaara. Naruto was the only one of them to say anything. You're alive. Not for much longer. The beast inside me has already perished. I will soon follow it. Gaara looked skywards, his eyes glazed over. No, Gaara, you can't die. You're not supposed to die. Naruto said as more tears fell and hit Gaara's face. It's funny. I didn't think anyone would cry for me when I died. Naruto's eyes widened. He had said the same thing to Lee when he thought he was dying. Thank you, Uzumaki. Naruto. Gaara's breath became almost non-existent. I believe that if I would have just given you the chance, we would have made great friends. Gaara closed his eyes and all his breath left his body. Gaara. Open your eyes. Gaara. Naruto violently shook the redhead that lay on the ground in front of him. You can't die. Not like this. If you die like this, that means that I killed you. Gaara didn't respond. Naruto slowly begins to realize that he would never be able to respond. He was dead. Naruto, Sakura took a slight step closer when the other person there started chuckling. She looked up in surprise at Kankuro. Naruto did the same. I can't believe it, Kankuro said quietly. I can't believe someone managed to kill Gaara. Kankuro burst out into complete laughter. You're amazing. You Konoha genin are truly something. Kankuro had to hold his side to catch his breath. Finally, that bastard is dead. He wheezed out. You asshole. Naruto stumbled forward and slugged the older genin right in the face. Kankuro stumbled backward and Naruto lost his balance, still greatly wounded from his previous fight. What the hell? Kankuro asked. I don't want to fight you. He nurtured his wounded cheek. Well, I want to fight you. Naruto roared from the ground. He was your teammate, damn it. He was part of your village. Don't you dare laugh at him cause of this. He was no teammate or brother of mine. Kankuro shouted back. Brother? Naruto whispered in shock. That's right, even if we shared parents, I will never recognize that creep as a blood relative. He deserved what he got. Naruto was prepared to shout at him again, but Sakura instantly cleared the distance and slapped Kankuro for him. What the hell is with you people? Kankuro now held his other cheek. No! Sakura shouted. What the hell is wrong with you? You are the worst kind of scum in the world. How could you say those terrible things about your brother? Naruto looked at Sakura in shock. If you knew about his history, you would know why. Kankuro brought up his arm to hit Sakura back. I do know, Naruto said, causing him to stop. I know exactly the kind of past he had. Being hated by everyone in his village. Receiving looks of disgust for something he had no control over. Having all the other kids' parents tell them to stay away from him. Sakura stared sadly at the blonde boy. You have one too? Kankuro finally started to fit the puzzles together. That's right. Naruto glared up at him. I have the Kyubi no Yoko sealed inside of me, and everyone in the village hated me for it. Sakura let out a small gasp and Kankuro's eyes widened. I always used to wonder what it would be like to have a family. Naruto continued. To have an older brother who would look out for me and protect me from everyone. A mom and dad who would love me. Sakura felt tears start to form around her own eyes. Meanwhile, Kankuro's face became more and more impassive as Naruto spoke. But now I'm starting to wonder, would they have treated me like you guys treated him? Naruto slowly got back to his feet. Would they have laughed if they knew I was dead? Naruto asked his unanswerable questions. Like hell, I'd know. Kankuro spat. Look, I don't care anymore. He's dead and there is nothing you can do. But you can take the earth scroll that he has. Kankuro gestured to Gaara's body. We do not need it anymore. I'm going to go find my sister. Kankuro turned away from the two genin and his dead brother and began to stroll off. Where the hell do you think you're going? Naruto took a step after him but stumbled. Sakura caught him before he could hit the ground. Get back here so I can kick your ass. Naruto, just let him go. You can't fight him in this state. Sakura whispered gently. Why do people have to be that way? Naruto said so only Sakura could hear. Kankuro was getting farther and farther away. Sakura said nothing and slowly led Naruto back towards Gaara. You should be thankful. Both turned to see Kankuro standing still and looking at him. Without Gaara, you ruined the plans of our village. Otogakure won't dare make a move now either. Having said that, he turned back around and left. What do you think he meant by that? Sakura asked curiously. Naruto shook his head. He didn't know either. Sakura set him down gently and then began shifting through Gaara's belongings, looking for the scroll. Naruto sat there in silence as she did. Finally, Sakura cleared her throat. Naruto made no reaction, so she decided to talk anyways. Did you mean it? Sakura paused before gathering the courage to press on. Do you have the Kyubi sealed inside you? Naruto nodded slowly. His eyes never left Gaara's lifeless face. Sakura didn't say anything again until she had the scroll. She pocketed it in her pouch and walked over to stand in front of Naruto. I'm sorry. Sakura said. About what? Naruto asked bitterly. About a lot of things right now. But mostly, for the way I treated you in the past. I didn't know. Sakura paused. There was no point in finishing that sentence. You're not the only one, Naruto replied. Then he sighed. Not like it matters, it's in the past. Besides, it's hard to know when they'll kill you if you tell anyone. He slowly struggled to stand back up. Let me help you. I know where my teammates are heading. Sakura stepped forward to give Naruto a hand. You can stay with us until you're strong enough to move. Naruto shook his head. I'm not going anywhere just yet. Not until I dig Gaara a proper grave and pay him my respects. Naruto pulled out a kunai and stumbled up to a part of the ground that wasn't destroyed or covered by trees. The ground has mostly hardened back up now, but it should still be soft enough for me to dig through. Naruto started stabbing his kunai into the ground and began picking clumps of dirt out of it. Sakura watched him sadly before she walked over next to him and stuck her hands into the still soft dirt. She pulled out a big amount and threw it to the side. She continued this multiple times until she noticed Naruto had stopped. When she looked up, he was staring at her, confusion evident on his face. Aren't you worried about your hands getting dirty? Or breaking a nail? Naruto finally asked. Sakura smiled slightly before setting back to work. Idiot, I'm a kunoichi now, not some pampered princess. She heard Naruto give the smallest laugh before he threw his kunai aside and began digging again. Sakura had long since lost track of time before they finally got done digging. She knew they must have at least spent a couple of hours at it though. The ground had been much harder the lower they had gone had soon become strenuous labor. The very little conversation had passed between them the whole time as well. Nevertheless, they had finished and were now throwing the dirt back upon Gaara whom Naruto had laid into the pit already. That should do it, Sakura said as she patted the mound of dirt down a little. I have to say though, it's a miracle nobody attacked us while we've been here. Anyone close enough to see the Shikaku probably turned tail and ran. I doubt anyone will be coming by this part of the forest the rest of the exam. Naruto said as he ripped off a decently sized piece of bark. He stuck it in the front of the mound. Sorry Gaara, I know it isn't much, but this is going to have to do for you, Naruto said as he scribbled the boy's name on it. He then kneeled in front of it and clapped his hands together. Sakura mimicked his action and they both silently prayed for the boy. After a few moments of silence, they both opened their eyes. Let's get going, Naruto said as he slowly stood back up. When he went to walk he stumbled forward again. Idiot! Sakura said as she caught him. There's no way you are going to be healed enough to move on your own. Let me help you. Naruto nodded silently as Sakura began to help him walk away. There you guys are. Both Sakura and Naruto looked up to the trees to see Kiba and Shino standing there. Akamaru rested happily on Kiba's head. We thought you were both goners. Kiba shouted, relief evident in his voice. They both jumped down to the forest floor, next to Naruto and Sakura. Shino made it with Kiba's assistance. Shino, Naruto spoke first. Naruto fumbled for the right words. Are you alright? He finally asked. He couldn't take his eyes off of the spot where Shino's arm was supposed to be. If you are asking if I feel any pain, then I am all right, Shino answered in a monotone. My Kakachu secreted a special formula to stop the bleeding and numb the pain the second my arm was taken. I will be capable of surviving in this forest for the remainder of the exam, but my ability to contribute to getting the scroll will be nil while I am on the drug. Naruto took a couple of seconds to process what Shino had said. Booty mean, can you still be a shinobi? His eyes still hadn't left the spot. Shino adjusted his glasses slightly. As an Aburame, I have always relied on my Kakachu rather than normal shinobi methods. While I will be slightly stinted, my clan's jutsu does not require any hand seals. Therefore I will not be forced to halt my career. Naruto nodded slowly as his brain ran through Shino's words to hear. Finally, he smiled. I'm glad that you don't have to quit Shino. You may be a weird guy, but no one should have their goals taken from them. Shino pushed his glasses up again. Moving on. What are you guys still doing here? That guy isn't still alive, is he? Kiba tried to move the topic to safer ground but quickly realized his mistake as Naruto's face fell. Oh, which I see. Kiba recalled Naruto's words during the fight. If he looked like this, that meant only one outcome was possible. "I notice you built a grave with his name on it," Shino observed, making Sakura and Naruto cringe. "Do not be alarmed. I am not upset. I am just making observations to determine the outcome of the battle. I also noticed that his sister is not where I hid her. So I can assume that the other brother found her and carried her off." "Yeah, but he let Naruto have the scroll before he went off." Sakura pulled the scroll out of her pouch. Shino nodded again. "Is that the scroll you need, Naruto-san?" I suppose, yeah." Naruto looked at the scroll and then all of the people present. "Then what are you waiting for? Go ahead and take it." Kiba gestured to it. "Are you guys sure?" Naruto asked as he skeptically reached for it. "It is only logical. You are the one who defeated Gaara and you are the one in need of the scroll," Shino said as Naruto grabbed onto it and slipped it into his pouch. "So what are we going to do from here?" Kiba asked while looking at his teammates. "I doubt there is much we could do to pass anymore. We're down to no scrolls and Shino isn't in a state to be fighting. Our best move would be to head to the edge of the forest by the fence. Most teams will be heading inwards to get closer to the tower, not the other way," Shino said matter-of-factly. "That's not a bad idea, but we need to make a detour." Everyone turned to Naruto. "Trust me, you guys are going to want to come with me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you want early updates, check out Patreon. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.